Hello. Oh my gosh, if you saw me trilling at the end, I was like making noises. Okay. That was hilarious. I'm gonna keep recording anyways, because whatever. Because that's what I decided to do this year. Okay, so this is the Legacy Lady, and you are on the Legacy Recorder YouTube channel, possibly. Maybe you'll sing as a podcast. But for right now, that's we're doing visual content. So this happens to be March, and I have had the outline to do this video for at least a week, maybe more, and I probably procrastinated until the last minute, which is like literally this morning, because I like to post videos on Thursday. But this particular video is really talking about death and grief and dying. And the reason I do that in March for me is that because it's when my dad died. So my dad's death of his anniversary was March 7th in 2006, which was a while ago, but grief is funny, and it doesn't have a timeline. And even if you feel like maybe you have it together and it's okay, a decade later, 2 days later, decades, 3 decades, however long it is, there might still be moments. So that's why this video and the content you'll see this month is all around death and dying. National Hospice Month isn't until November, which we'll talk about death again, but really I try to not bring levity, but like normalize talking about death. We're a little behind here in the US. We're catching up, totally catching up to the rest of the world, but it is a slow process. So here we are. One of the reasons you're actually watching this video and there's even a Legacy Recorder or a Legacy Recorder YouTube channel is because my dad died. So the Legacy Recorder was my way of processing and really writing out and writing through the grief. I didn't start that till a decade after my dad had died. So 2015 is really when I started Legacy Recorder. And since then I've just covered all the things, including death and what to do when death happens and how we can honor death and offer support with storytelling, which is why there's this video. So I wanted to share with you a few, we're going to start in with our things to read, listen to, or watch, and I have a cute little, we're going to share my screen. So the How to Honor Death and Grief is a blog post, as you can see. It also has a link to the What to Do When Death Happens, which is, in my opinion, a fantastic read. And there's so much content on talking to people, and if someone is experiencing grief, if you're experiencing grief, that's really what these resources are for. And if you are like, I want to prep for that, here they are. So our next is a watch, so YouTube story or YouTube video, because we like the tubes. So this is telling your own grief story and why you need to. So I go over why you should be telling your story, and the reason that I believe it's important for me to share my grief story and the fact that I keep doing it is because if other people see me talking about it, then they feel more comfortable talking about their own story, or they'll be able to hear something and maybe get some closure that they might otherwise not have gotten. So that's a cliff notes on that video. There is also, of course, the podcast, and this particular episode I've linked below is Photos, Death, and Storytelling, which is probably more about, it's been a while, 2020, that was a while ago. That one has more to do with collecting photos and processing what to include and things like that, which there's also videos on that on the YouTube channel. So those are our things to read, listen to, or watch. For the resource to check out, in 2017, I found a Good Grief app. I don't remember exactly when they started, but I feel like they had been going for a little while maybe, but you can go read their story. But Good Grief app is a fantastic resource. This is not paid, and I'm not an affiliate for them. But it's an app where basically you get matched based on I'm going to call it your grief profile. So who died, how they died, how old you are. Not really geographical, but potentially geographical. So it's been a while since I've gone through the intake process, but it's a really neat opportunity to connect with other people who are experiencing some of the same things you are in some of the same ways, which within when death happens and within the grief experience, it's kind of hard sometimes to find someone who has an exact match to what you're experiencing. So like my grief profile was that I was technically 18, but I really had just turned 18, and I actually had a baby as well. So I had my oldest daughter just a couple months before, and then I turned 18, and then my dad died. So like 7 days after my 18th birthday, and my oldest child was not quite 2 months old yet. So that's a really specific grief profile. And I haven't gone back recently to like see if there's another one, but those are some of the things that you would get matched on. So that is a good grief app. They're absolutely fantastic humans. I recommend them all the time. And there's a blog post about where I've like talked through what it is, but feel free to go check them out. So to get to our storytelling activity that I'm loving right now, of course, it's around grief. So when grief is happening, when death happens, one of the best things that people did for me was actually talking about my dad. Now, everyone is different. I highly encourage you to go read the What to Do When Death Happens article that talks you through different scenarios and suggestions and some scripting, some words to say, because when death happens, people aren't sure what to say. So for someone, if you are working with a storyteller and they're older, there are prompts. We're doing prompts. That's what we're doing. I'm sorry, I'm reading what I wrote down. So when grief's happening, one of the things that we can do for people is remembering them, remembering the person that died, helping, like loving on them and supporting people through this process, whatever that looks like for them. And the prompts have to do with reflection on when was a time you felt really supported, who was there for you, what type of support did they offer you, and how have you been able to support them or someone else in a similar way. So having space to think about how we like to be supported, how we need to be supported, and thinking through those prompts will actually help someone identify more, like when it happens again, because it will happen again, what worked for them the first time. So when someone, or the last time, so when someone says, hey, how can I support you on this? They can be like, this is what I need. And one of the things I needed was just for someone to talk to me about him and to say his name and to not be afraid to just be who they were, and not skittish, which is also really hard. So death makes people uncomfortable, and that's okay. So anyways, I have a total soapbox, obviously, because I've written hundreds of words, thousands of words on the topic. There's lots of videos. There is a whole grief series on the YouTube channel, so that's in a playlist. Because I also like to be organized. So that is all I have for you today. I thank you so much for getting to the end of this video. I know it was a little winding, and my procrastination didn't help. So with that, I hope you have an incredibly wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe, get the notification, and if you are needing support in storytelling, feel free to drop a message on social or book a consult with the link below. So I hope you have an incredibly wonderful day, and I said that already, and until I see you again, happy writing.